first woman and the first African-American to do so. A new Netflix movie called simply Shirley tells her story. Regina King plays Shirley Chisholm, John Ridley directs, and they both join us now. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. So, Regina, I want to start with you because I read that you and your sister Raina, who's in the film as Chisholm's sister, that the two of you were trying to get this film made for like 15 years. And it made me think, like, gosh, 15 years ago, Chisholm just didn't have the kind of cultural footprint that she has now. Like, I never heard about Shirley Chisholm in school. I didn't find out about her until well into adulthood when I was a reporter on The Hill. And I asked, how did you first learn about Shirley Chisholm?
Well, actually, it's an interesting story because while Raina and I are sisters, we've always gone to different schools because we're 4 years apart. And during Black History Month, they choose a person each day of February that has made an impact on the world in some way. And I was lucky in my 4th grade year to have a teacher that Shirley Chisholm was part of her curriculum. And then we, young adults, early 20s, realized that there were so many people who didn't even know her name. So we felt like her story needs to be told. People need to know her name.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk about Shirley Chisholm's arrival in Washington, D.C. in 1969. Right, first Black woman comes into Congress representing Bed-Stuy, a neighborhood in Brooklyn. Can you just tell us, how did her colleagues receive her? How would you describe the reception?
I'll let you take that, John. I would love to hear John with his podcast voice. Break that down.
Yeah, just set the scene for us, John,
I think it was a complicated arrival. I mean, certainly for Black people, for women, for the burgeoning Congressional Black Caucus, those were all really, really good things. I think where it got complicated was people started to realize that she didn't necessarily want to follow the traditional paths where, you come in and essentially for everybody, you kind of got to wait your turn, and it's about seniority. But for junior representatives, and certainly a woman, and certainly a woman of color, Shirley could look at that path and go, well, this is going to take too long.
She's like, why are you putting me on the Agricultural Committee?
Yeah, the Agricultural Committee was a big deal for her because she was representing Brooklyn, and she thought that there were not sufficient things that she could do for the people that elected her. So Shirley wanted to get to work right away, and that became a pattern. She was going to do it in her time at her cadence, and that's when she began to upset the apple cart.
What do you think was harder for Chisholm when she was navigating Washington? Racism or misogyny? Because it felt like this movie was making more of a point about how men in Washington treated her, white or black.
Definitely misogyny.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to realize when Shirley was running for Congress, this is at a time when women still needed their husbands to sign for a bank account.
Yeah, that's so insane to me now.
It's so just the audacity for a woman to do what she had done.
You use the word audacity, that she had the audacity as a woman to make sure that she was up front and center. She had to basically, it sounds like, train her husband to be the background person in that relationship. She had to convince other men in her life to believe in her. And at one point I read, Regina, that you were struck by how much of a strategist Shirley Chisholm was. What did you mean by that? Like, how would you describe Chisholm's style as a political strategist?
I feel like every move that she made was intentional. There's a part in the film where Shirley's preparing for her announcement to run for president, and you just see the detail in it, from how she's choosing her wigs to what she is planning to say in that announcement.
A meticulous orchestration.
I love that. A meticulous orchestration. Exactly.
Also attached to her style was this ability to engage even with people whom she had serious disagreements with, right? Like, it comes out in the way that you depict the dynamic between Chisholm and George Wallace, the former governor of Alabama, who was a segregationist, who also ran against Chisholm for the Democratic nomination for president. I want to play a clip from the movie for you. This is when Wallace is in the hospital after an assassination attempt. And Chisholm pays him a visit, even though her team is like, what are you even doing visiting him?
God